My mother called me the rock of the family for 34 years. What she meant was, I was a load-bearing wall she had already sold. My name is Helena Ensley. I'm 34, and the day I mailed my parents the legal no-contact letter, my mom called me 47 times in one night. I didn't pick up once. Voicemail 47 ended with 7 words she had never said out loud before. You'll regret this. We made you. I texted back 4 words and pressed send. Then I'm unmaking it. The envelope I mailed her the next morning, certified, receipted, witnessed, is still sitting on her kitchen counter, unopened. 3 months and counting. What was inside it? What a credit bureau in Atlanta called to tell me 4 days later, and what my grandmother did at her 80th birthday in front of 42 people. I'll walk you through every step. Before I do, hit like, subscribe, and drop your city and local time in the comments. I read everyone. Now let me take you back to March 4th, 2026, the day the bank said no. The Monday before my world broke, Margaret Holloway leaned in my office doorframe and smiled. You won the Kowalski file, she said. Full refund. 70-year-old widow. Nice work, Ensley. I thanked her without looking up. Small victories kept me moving. I'd been a paralegal at Holloway & Cross for 6 years. Consumer protection, identity theft, predatory lending. The unglamorous corner of the law where people showed up crying. My phone buzzed. Daniel. Offers in on Elm Street. Seller wants a decision by Friday. Daniel, we just saw it Saturday. I know. That's why I called. I laughed into the receiver. 3 bedrooms, open kitchen, a backyard for the dog we kept pretending we weren't going to get. Our first house together. I called my mother from the break room. I always did. 3 times a week, like clockwork. Oh, sweetie, she said. Are you sure you can afford it? Something shifted in her voice. I didn't catch it then. We ran the numbers, I told her. Daniel's pension, my salary, we're fine. Well, I just worry. You know how the bank can be. I should have heard the thin edge of fear underneath. I heard concern. A mother's concern, I called it, because that was the word I'd been handed. Margaret passed behind me, coffee cup in hand. She tapped her temple. Pull your credit report before the lender does, Helena. You'd be surprised what shows up. I nodded politely. My credit was fine. My taxes were filed. I paid every bill the day it came. I had been the rock of this family for 34 years. Rocks don't ask questions. Rocks don't ask who opened an account in 2008 or why the bank is about to call with a voice that doesn't sound like celebration. That was about to change. Tuesday night, Daniel and I walked the Elm Street house a second time. He opened every cabinet. He measured the hallway. He stood in the master bedroom and whispered, "We could live here." I leaned on the kitchen island, cold granite under my palms. "Dayton," he said. "Sargent told me today. The transfer might go through in October." "How sure?" "Sure enough to close before then." We sat on the front steps as the realtor locked up. The street was quiet. Street lamps flickering awake. A dog barking 2 houses down. "Helena, if we get this, I want to get it right." I squeezed his hand. "Then let's." At home, I opened the lender portal. Social security number, date of birth, employer, annual income, signature, digital, drawn with my finger on the trackpad. Submit. My phone rang. I knew before I looked. My mother. "Honey, good news or bad news?" "We put an offer in." "Oh." A pause I didn't understand. "Oh, that's wonderful. Listen, I need to talk to you about Grandma's birthday." "Mom, she's turning 80, Helena. 80. I need you to give a toast. It has to be you." "Of course. And wear something nice, not that gray thing you wore at Easter, something warm." I said yes. I always said yes. Daniel was folding laundry in the bedroom. He heard the last part. "Does she ever call without adding a task?" "That's just how she talks." "Babe, you know you don't have to say yes to everything, right?" I smiled at him. I did not, at that moment, know what he meant. That was the luxury of not knowing. The one I was still living in for a few more days. 3 days, to be exact. Tuesday the next week, 2:47 p.m. rain tapping against the office window. My desk phone rang. Ms. Ensley, this is Victor Delaney at Huntington Bank. I'm afraid I have some difficult news on your pre-approval. Difficult how? Your application has been declined. I stood up, sat down, stood up again. That's not possible. Can you check the name? Ensley, Ensley. I have it right here. Your credit score came back at 487, Ms. Ensley, and there are 9 open accounts in delinquent status. I walked out of the office, past Margaret's door, past reception, into the parking garage. I didn't bring my coat. I sat in my car with the heat off and opened the annual credit report app, fingers clumsy on the screen. 10 seconds of loading. Then the report. Capital 1, opened June 2008. I was 16. A Discover card from 2011. JCPenney store card 2012. Best Buy 2014. Macy's 2016. A medical bill from Mount Carmel East for a surgery I never had. A personal loan for $32,000 dated November 2019. Another loan for 11. Another for 27. Every account routed to one mailing address. My parents' house in Marysville. Total outstanding balance, $147,312. I didn't cry. My hands didn't shake. I just sat, looking at the dashboard, and heard my own voice, flat as a court transcript. Someone opened a credit card in my name the year I got my learner's permit. I called Daniel. Babe, I said, I need you to come pick me up. Something is very wrong. Are you hurt? No, I'm not hurt. Where are you? Parking garage, 4th floor. On my way. I had spent my career unwinding fraud for strangers. Somehow the idea of unwinding it for myself had never crossed my mind. 18 years of never crossing. We sat at Daniel's kitchen table with the full 43-page report printed out. Highlighters, a legal pad. He circled the dates. I listed the addresses. We worked in silence, the way you work when you already know what you're finding. Every account, he said. Same P.O. box, same address. That's their house. I know. I pulled a file from my bag. I'd kept every tax return since I was 19, every lease, every contract. I was a paralegal. Paperwork was my religion. Inside the folder, a loan application from June 2011, a signature in blue ink at the bottom. Helena Ensley, too round, too even. The H leaned the wrong way. I'd signed my name 10,000 times. I knew what my name looked like. That's not my signature, Daniel. No, that is a forgery. He leaned back, rubbed his jaw. He'd been a cop for 9 years. He already knew. Hell, you know what this is? Federal identity theft, I said quietly. Across state lines, continuing crime, 18 years. I clicked on the newest account. A credit card opened in 2023. Balance, $1,400. Status, current. On-time payments every month. Someone is still using it, right now, today. Daniel stared at the screen. Hell, who pays on time for 18 years and doesn't stop? I knew the answer. I'd known since the first minute of the report. The person who paid on time was the person running the scheme, the person who knew exactly how long a clean credit line could keep breathing if you fed it a little each month. My mother kept her own credit pristine. She had told me that my whole life. She needed a second one, a spare, a backup name. I was the spare name. I called her from the kitchen. I wrote my opening line on an index card first. Mom, I need to ask you about something I saw in my credit report. 3 seconds of silence on the line. Long enough to hear her exhale. Oh, honey, that's identity theft. It's everywhere these days. You have to be careful about phishing links. Mom! I'm serious. Darren at church got his SSN stolen at a gas pump. Mom, one of the accounts is being paid from a checking account ending in 4471. The silence got longer. In the background, I heard my father. Linda, I told you she'd find out eventually. My mother began to cry. Why are you attacking me on a Tuesday? You know my heart, Helena. I asked you a question. Your father doesn't know what he's saying. He's stressed about work. Mom, whose checking account ends in 4471? Honey, can we not do this right now? I held the phone away from my ear. Daniel was watching from across the table. He didn't move. He didn't need to. My father's voice came through again. Linda, just tell her. Frank, stop! I hung up. The kitchen was very quiet. A neighbor's dog barked outside. A truck downshifted on the corner. Daniel put his hand on mine. She didn't ask how much you'd found. I noticed. She didn't deny it. She tried to change the subject. I noticed. Your dad said eventually. I heard him. I set the phone down face up. It lit with her name, already calling back. I turned it face down. My father had always been the quiet one at the table. Quiet wasn't innocence. Quiet was a choice, made with his eyes closed, for 18 years running. In the first 90 minutes after I hung up, 11 calls came from my mother, 4 from my father, 2 from Aunt Pat, whose daughter-in-law had just heard the family gossip version first. I didn't answer any of them. Daniel heated leftover lasagna. I sat at his table and drafted a timeline on the back of a cable bill. Each account, each year, each address. Hell, you need a lawyer. Margaret is a lawyer. Not your boss. Someone outside the firm. Someone who has nothing to lose if this gets ugly. I nodded without looking up. My phone rang again. Voicemail. I set it to speaker. My mother's voice came through the kitchen, thin and tight. Helena, please, you're going to kill your father with stress. Call me back. Daniel set the lasagna down in front of me. Eat. I'm not hungry. Eat anyway. I ate. The sauce was too salty. I didn't care. At 10:47 p.m., I opened my laptop and wrote a short email to Margaret. Subject, personal matter. Can I come in early tomorrow? Body. Before 7 would be best. I'd like to keep this off the calendar. I hit send. My phone lit up again. Call number 19. 47 would be the final number. 47 would be the number I remembered for the rest of my life. The number carved into the story I told myself. The number that would eventually get me to stand in a backyard full of relatives and hand my mother an envelope she would still be refusing to open weeks later. I didn't know that yet. That night, it was still only 19. 7 a.m. Margaret's office smelled like cedar and burnt coffee. She hadn't slept either, I could tell. She read the report in silence. 43 pages. Her reading glasses slid to the tip of her nose and she didn't push them back up. She set the pages down after 4 minutes. She looked at me. Helena, sit down. Listen carefully. I'm listening. The federal piece is bigger than the money. The firm has a state AG contract, fraud unit. You signed the clearance form in 2021. I remember. If you have unresolved fraud on your file, that clearance is suspended pending review. If it's suspended, you come off the Kowalski file, and Bridges, and the Okonkwo settlement. I know. If you lose those, you could lose your position. I would fight for you. It would still be a fight. I let that sit between us. She didn't rush me. 3 paths, she said. Civil suit, criminal referral to the state, full federal report to the FTC, and let them run it. Or, door number 4, eat the debt, make a plan to pay it down, keep the family intact, let it go. I laughed once, short, without any pleasure. There's no door number 4, Margaret. I know. I wanted you to hear yourself say it out loud. She slid a legal pad toward me. A pen. Let's start with the FTC identity theft affidavit, then the state police report, then the cease and desist. We'll know by Friday. Margaret. Yes. I don't want revenge. She looked at me over her glasses. Good. Revenge is sloppy. Revenge loses in court. We're not doing revenge. We're getting your name back. I picked up the pen. I started writing. My hand did not shake. That afternoon I filed in parallel. FTC, Form 14039. Identity theft affidavit. Printed, signed. Notarized by the receptionist, who asked no questions and handed me a sympathy mint. Marysville Police Department. Report filed with Sergeant Hollis, a colleague of Daniel's who recused himself before I walked in. Hollis took my statement for 40 minutes, gave me a case number, and said the sentence I'd hear again and again over the next month. Ma'am, I am very sorry. Fraud alerts placed with Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Full 15-year credit reports requested from each, delivered by certified mail. Ohio Secretary of State search opened on every LLC registered at my parents' address. Daniel drove me home. What do you want to happen, Hell? Tell me the ending. I watched the streetlights slide across the windshield. I took a long breath. I want to walk into Grandma's 80th birthday in 3 weeks without a single debt on my name that isn't mine. Okay. I want to keep my job. Okay. I want my mother to understand this is not a misunderstanding. Okay. And I want to sleep through one full night without hearing her ringtone. Daniel reached across the console and took my hand. He didn't say okay to that one. He knew better. 4 days later, a manila envelope arrived in my mailbox. Return address: Internal Revenue Service, Austin, Texas. The outside read, "Attention, Helena L. Ensley. Balance due, $8,412. I opened it standing at the mailbox. Read one paragraph. I thought I had seen the worst of it. The IRS letter was a starting gun. The letter referenced Schedule C for tax year 2022, a sole proprietorship, name of business, Ensley Family Services, LLC. Reported gross receipts, $67,000. I had never owned an LLC. I had never filed a Schedule C. I was a W-2 paralegal who paid TurboTax $40 every spring. I typed Ensley Family Services, LLC into the Ohio Secretary of State Business Database. The entity existed. Filed March 2018. Status: active. Registered agent: Frank G. Ensley. Principal address: my parents' house. Member of record: Helena L. Ensley. I pulled my own 2022 return from my file cabinet. Clean. W-2 only. $41,000 in salary. Standard deduction. Refund of $218. 2 people named Helena Ensley had filed taxes for 2022. One was me. The other was whoever had filed a Schedule C through my parents' accountant. I called Margaret. I didn't wait for hello. Margaret, there's a second tax return under my name. With business income I didn't earn. The IRS is coming after me for unpaid tax. She was quiet for a beat. Helena, that isn't just credit card fraud. That's federal tax fraud. Criminal Investigation Division territory. I know. You're going to need to file Form 14039 with the IRS separately from your FTC submission. Different department. And we attach this letter. I know. I'm going to call David Trent at the AG's office. He owes me a favor. Thank you. I hung up and sat at my desk with the letter flat in front of me. I was trembling, not from fear, from the specific cold that comes when the walls of a maze you've been walking in get a little higher and you realize they were built by someone who loves you. My parents had rented my name to the federal government. That was its own sentence. It deserved its own file. My phone buzzed on the desk. Megan. Hey H, Mom's losing it. What's going on? You okay? I waited 10 minutes before answering. I needed a clear head. I stepped outside, called her from a bench behind the office under a bare maple tree. Hey Meg, let me ask you something weird. Okay. The 30 grand Mom and Dad gave you for the wedding. Where did they say it came from? Inheritance from Grandpa Henry, before he passed. Mom said it was earmarked for us. Grandpa Henry died in 2003, Meg. A long pause. What about the Jeep? The 2018 Wrangler? Equity loan on the house. Mom said she refinanced. I shut my eyes. My parents' mortgage had never had equity to pull. They bought the house underwater in 2006 and kept it that way. Meg, one more. Your student loans. 80,000. Sally Mae. I'm still paying. Who co-signed? You did, H. Mom said you insisted. You wanted to help me through school. I looked up at the maple. A crow was on a branch, watching me like it had the afternoon cleared. Megan, I never co-signed anything for you. Silence on the other end, the kind that pulls a whole life through it in a few seconds. H, I don't understand. I know you don't. I'm going to tell you what I know when I have the paperwork to prove it. Until then, don't tell Mom we talked. Helena. Please, Meg. Okay. I hung up. I taught my clients never to warn a relative until the documents were in hand. Now I was listening to my own advice. It felt worse from this side of the phone. By Wednesday, the family had organized itself against me, quietly, politely, the way a church potluck organizes itself, with a phone tree. Aunt Pat called at 8:43 a.m. Helena, your mother is devastated. Whatever this misunderstanding is, we are a family and we talk and we forgive. Aunt Pat, I appreciate you. I'm not able to discuss this. Helena, I love you. I'll see you Saturday at Grandma's. I hung up gently. I wrote the call down on a legal pad. Date, time, content. I was building a file. At 11 a.m., Pastor Warren emailed. Subject: praying for your family. Body: Helena, your mother shared some concerns. Would you consider coming in this week for a private conversation? The Lord softens what we cannot soften ourselves. I filed it. Date, time. Forwarded to Margaret. At 2:15 p.m., my cousin Rachel texted. Rachel: Hey, is everything okay? Aunt Linda said you're going through something rough. You need anything? Love from a cousin who hadn't texted me since Christmas 2023. My mother had run the story ahead of me. She had 24 hours and no facts, and she had turned her panic into a campaign. She had practiced this before. That was what scared me. I stepped out to grab a sandwich at the deli across the street. Aunt Pat called twice while I was in line. Her third voicemail ended with a sentence I had been hearing my whole life, in different mouths. Your mother gave you everything, Helena. Now you're making her cry on a Wednesday? I stared at my phone. I bit into the sandwich. I had never before noticed how the word everything does most of the heavy lifting in a manipulator's vocabulary. It means whatever the speaker needs it to mean that morning. Dr. James Wainwright's office was on the 4th floor of a brick building in Cleveland, above a dentist and below a CPA. 3 decades of court appearances framed on the wall. He put 14 documents on a light table: loan applications, a tax return, 2 credit card originations. He set 3 verified samples beside them: my driver's license signature, my 401k enrollment, my college transcript request from 2014. He used a jeweler's loop, a laptop running pressure analysis software. He talked to himself quietly in a language I recognized from my own job. Angles, lift points, confidence intervals. After 90 minutes, he sat back. 11 of 14 are forgeries, Ms. Ensley. The remaining 3 I'd like to retest with better samples. On what basis? Pen pressure is wrong. The signer lifted the pen mid-stroke 3 times on average. Your authentic samples never lift. Your H is fluid. The forged H is cautious. Whoever did this wasn't tracing. They were practicing from memory. How long would it take to reach this quality? He looked up at me. Kind eyes. No pity, just the fact. Ma'am, this is practiced work. Years. The earliest forgeries are the roughest. They improve by 2014. Whoever signed these signed them often. I swallowed. I didn't cry. I wrote the word practiced on my notepad, underlined twice. I'll have a formal report in 10 to 14 days, he said. Court ready, chain of custody documented. Thank you, Dr. Wainwright. Ms. Ensley, may I ask what you do for a living? Paralegal, consumer fraud. He nodded once, slowly. Then you know what this means. Yes, sir, I know exactly what it means. I walked down 4 flights of stairs and called Margaret from the lobby. Practiced. The words sat in my chest for 3 days. Daniel and I drove to Marysville on Friday night. I brought a folder. 1 page, 3 bullet points. 1. Sign a written acknowledgement of responsibility for the 9 accounts. 2. Transfer all debt to your names within 60 days. 3. Close every account, credit file, and tax filing currently under my name. If they signed, I would not make a federal referral. That was the offer. It was generous. Margaret had told me it was too generous. I had asked for it anyway. My father was sitting at the kitchen table when we walked in. He didn't stand up. My mother was in the kitchen, wiping a clean counter. Her hair was pinned the way it was at church. Sit down, she said. Let me make coffee. We won't stay long, Mom. I put the page on the table. She wouldn't look at it. I'm asking for 3 things. Clearly. In writing. If you sign, this stays in the family. My mother picked up the page. She read 3 lines. Her face did not change. This is how you treat me, Helena? After everything? Mom, please sign. I have a heart condition. Mom, please sign. I will not sign a document that accuses me of something I have to explain to Pastor Warren. You don't have to explain it to him. You have to sign it for me. Her hand went to her chest, the practiced gesture. I had seen it 10,000 times. My father spoke without looking up. Honey, these are your parents. Don't put this in writing. I stood up. I picked up the page. I folded it in half and put it back in the folder. Okay. My mother blinked. Okay? Okay, Mom. This just became public. Daniel put his hand on the small of my back. We walked out. No coffee. No goodbye. Just the click of the screen door closing behind us. I want to pause here for a second. Some of you know that kitchen. You know that drawer she wiped. You know the exact silence of the moment your mother decided not to sign. If you have ever stood up and walked out of a conversation like that, drop your city in the comments so you know you're not alone on that drive home. And if this story is speaking for you, hit the like button. I see you. Now let's keep going. Call number 20 is about to come in. The phone rang at 10:14 p.m. on Saturday. Megan. Mom just called me. She said you're threatening the family. What are you doing? Meg, are you sitting down? No. Sit down. I heard a chair scrape. I emailed her 4 pages while we talked. The personal loan from 2019, the Wrangler title loan from 2018, a credit card application from the year she started high school, her own student loan co-sign document. I heard her inhale 3 times. I heard her cry on the 4th. The co-sign. What did Mom tell you? She said you insisted. She said you believed in me. She said you wanted me to go to Ohio State without debt. She said you asked her not to tell me because you didn't want me to feel guilty. Meg. I wrote you a Christmas card every year thanking you. I thought you didn't answer because you were private. Meg, I never co-signed anything. Mom forged that signature. A long silence. I heard her husband Caleb in the background asking something soft. Helena, you paid for my college. No, I didn't. If she forged that, you're on the hook for $80,000 of my school. I'm working on getting it reversed through fraud removal. It takes time. I owe you. I owe you my whole life. You don't owe me, Meg. You were a kid. Nobody told you. Then I owe Mom. You can figure that out later. Right now, I need something. Anything. Don't talk to her for 6 days. Not until after Grandma's party. I know what I'm doing. I need her isolated and off balance. Can you do that? Yes. Meg. Yes? If you thought I wasn't at your baby shower because I was jealous, it's because she told me you didn't want me there. She started crying harder. I stayed on the line until she stopped. Sunday morning, my mother posted on Facebook at 9:02 a.m. Some days you raise a child and pour every ounce of yourself into her, and she forgets. Please pray for our family. Names mean nothing. Love means everything. 89 comments. Aunt Pat. Linda, we are praying without ceasing. Pastor Warren, hugging emoji. A woman from the prayer circle. Our daughter hurt us too. Time heals. I read every comment. Daniel read them over my shoulder. Do you want to post a response? No. Screenshot? Already done. Sent to Margaret. She's trying to build public sympathy. She's trying to make sure the verdict is delivered before the trial starts. That's a specific strategy. It only works if I play along. He sat down next to me on the couch. He handed me coffee. What's the counter? Silence, legal documents, a court date. Not a comment under her post. Never a comment under her post. I set my phone down face up. I scrolled past her name like it was someone I'd known in high school. I opened my laptop. I drafted nothing public. I added every comment, every screenshot, every like to a folder labeled Exhibit B. I did not post. I did not react. I did not defend. There is a temptation, when you know you are right, to prove it immediately, to clap back, to quote a comment, to get the last word on a Sunday afternoon. That temptation is a trap. The only audience that matters in an identity theft case is a federal judge, an FTC fraud analyst, and 3 credit bureau investigators. None of them read Facebook comments. I closed the tab. I went for a walk. I let my mother win Sunday on social media. Monday belonged to paperwork. Paperwork was where I lived. Monday at 7 a.m., Margaret handed me a 3-page cease and desist letter printed on firm letterhead. I read every line twice. The language was dry, no adjectives, no emotion. Demand for immediate cessation, notice of legal proceedings, preservation of records, copy to counsel of record for the respondents.
Barnes and Gelb, Marysville, Ohio. The family lawyer my parents had used since 1998. I signed at the bottom in my real signature. Margaret countersigned as supervising attorney. She stamped it with the firm seal. "One original for Barnes," she said, "one sealed copy for the file, and one for them. Personal delivery." "Personal delivery when?" "You choose. The court date is already set regardless." I nodded. I already knew when. While I was signing, I was finalizing, in parallel, FTC Identity Theft Report, case number assigned, Marysville PD Supplemental Statement, filed with Sergeant Hollis, IRS, Form 14039, mailed certified to Austin, Ohio Secretary of State Fraud Complaint on the LLC, stamped received, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion Fraud Investigations, all three opened. Social Security Administration Fraud Alert, filed, 9 agencies, 9 case numbers, 9 separate pieces of paper that existed in the world, whether my mother acknowledged them or not. Margaret walked me to the door at noon. "Helena." "Yes." "You're about to win this. I want to say it before you forget how this felt." I hugged her. It surprised us both. That afternoon, her paralegal faxed the cease and desist to Barnes and Gelb. I watched the confirmation page print out. I put it in my purse. Barnes would call my parents on Friday. Grandma's birthday was Saturday. The envelope I would hand my mother, the one she still hasn't opened, was already printed and sitting on my kitchen counter in a manila sleeve. Friday at 3:40 p.m., Barnes called my parents. I know the exact time because Barnes's assistant, who had known me since I was 7, quietly left me a message 40 minutes later. "Helena, he made the call. I wanted you to know. God be with you this weekend." The first call from my mother came through at 4:41 p.m. I was at Daniel's making lasagna for his mother, who was visiting from Toledo. I watched the screen light up. I did not pick up. Call 2 at 4:44. Call 3 at 4:46. Call 4 at 4:49. By 5:30 p.m., 11. Daniel's mom, Gloria, poured me wine I didn't drink. "Honey, do you want to talk about it?" "Not yet, Gloria. Thank you." "Okay. I'll just be over here being on your side then." I smiled for the first time in 3 days. Voicemails started after call 15. My mother never leaves voicemails. She had left 3 by dinner. I listened to them in order in the car, with Daniel driving me home. Number 8. "You don't understand what you're doing to this family." Number 23. "Your grandmother will be devastated tomorrow." Number 31. Soft sobbing. "Helena, Helena, pick up the phone. I'm your mother." Number 41. "Your father hasn't eaten since the lawyer called." Number 45. "If you go through with this, you have no family. Do you hear me? No family." I turned off the phone in my lap. Daniel glanced at me. "You okay?" Each voicemail is a new floor in the building she's been living in. None of the floors have the word sorry on them. That's a sentence, hell. I know. Write it down. I wrote it down on the back of a drive-through napkin. I still have the napkin. It's in a shoebox in the attic. Saturday morning, Daniel and I drove to Grandma's house 2 hours before the party. I brought the 1968 album she loved. The one with the picture of her in the red dress, dancing with Grandpa Henry on a cruise ship that sank 6 years later. Grandma Arlene was in the kitchen, already dressed. Pearl earrings, navy blouse, bare feet. "Helena, you came early." "I came for you." She took my hand. Her skin was thin and warm. "Honey, is something wrong between you and your mother?" I didn't lie to her. I also didn't make it her problem. "Gran, today is your day. I'll tell you everything tomorrow. That's a promise." She studied my face. She'd been studying faces for 80 years. She had been a school teacher and a nurse's aide and a widow and an elder. She knew when a person had already decided. "Your mother gets that way, honey. Always has. From a little girl. Do you remember that?" I remember. Sometimes the people who know the truth are too tired to say it out loud. I waited. She squeezed my hand harder. "You don't need their permission, Helena. You need their blessing. Those are different things. Only one of them I can give you. Gran, you have it, since the day you were born." I did not cry in her kitchen. I cried quietly in her bathroom with the tap running and my forehead against the mirror. I washed my face. I put my lipstick back on. I went back out. Daniel was helping her string bunting along the back porch. I had 2 hours left until my mother would arrive. I was ready. We left Grandma's at 10:50 a.m. to run to the bakery for extra napkins. Daniel drove. I sat in the passenger seat with the manila envelope across my lap. 11:04 a.m. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. 47th call from my mother since 7 o'clock the night before. I picked up the phone. I pressed play on the voicemail. Her voice came out of the speaker. It wasn't crying anymore. It was dry. The kind of dry that comes after someone has already cried all the water out of their face. Helena, you think you can do this to me? You think you have the right? You'll regret this. We made you. Daniel's hands tightened on the wheel. He didn't say anything. I pressed stop. I sat for 90 seconds, watching a squirrel cross the road in front of a parked UPS truck. Then I opened my text messages. I scrolled to her name. I typed one line. Then I'm unmaking it. I pressed send. The message delivered. The 3 dots appeared. Then they disappeared. Then they appeared again. They went away. She didn't respond. I put my phone in the glove box. I put my hand on the manila envelope in my lap. Babe, Daniel said quietly. You still want to go in? Yes. Okay. Daniel. Yes. I wrote the thing in this envelope 2 nights ago. My mother doesn't know it exists yet. In 90 minutes, she will. Okay. And she will not open it. Not today. Not tomorrow. I need to tell you that now, so you're not confused later. He nodded once. He drove. The bakery was 6 minutes away. There are sentences a mother says that a daughter cannot unhear. My mother had finally said an honest one. We got to Grandma's at 11:54 a.m. 42 chairs were set. The lace tablecloth was on. The 3-tier cake said Arlene 80 in buttercream calligraphy, piped by a cousin who taught a cake class on Thursdays. My mother saw me through the kitchen window. She turned away. My father gave me a tight nod across the yard. He was refolding napkins that didn't need folding. I walked the manila envelope into the house and set it on the hallway table next to Grandma's purse. I did not hide it. I did not announce it. It looked like any other piece of mail in a house full of mail. Megan caught me by the elbow in the hallway. H, don't do anything today. Please, just get through the cake. Meg, I'm not going to do anything. H. Mom is going to do it herself. She always does. Megan blinked. Her eyes were already red. What do you mean? Watch her for the next 2 hours. She won't be able to sit still. She'll have to say something in front of everyone. She'll make sure. She always has to make sure. H. Meg, trust me. She squeezed my arm and let go. Pastor Warren arrived at 12:06, Aunt Pat at 12:11, the Hildebrands from next door at 12:14, Mrs. Delorme from the prayer group, in a hat I remembered from Easter 1999. I moved from group to group. I complimented hats. I asked about grandchildren. I brought Grandma lemonade. I laughed when Cousin Rachel told the hamster story. I was calm. I had been calm for 3 days. The beauty of a person who plays the victim is she cannot bear the sound of a room that isn't about her. Grandma sat at the head of the table in a wooden chair Grandpa Henry built in 1974. She wore a corsage Aunt Pat had pinned on her, and she looked 20 years younger than she was. At 1:17 p.m., Megan tapped her water glass with a spoon. Can Helena go first? She has to leave early. I did not have to leave early. Megan was giving me the floor before my mother could get to it. Good girl. I stood up. I did not hold a note card. I had been writing and rewriting the toast in my head for 3 weeks. When I was 9 years old, my grandmother taught me to make her apple pie. I was nervous. I'd never rolled dough. She told me, honey, dough is patient. If you mess it up, it's still dough. Just start over. Laughter around the table. When I was 12, I had a bad year. I came to her kitchen and I cried into a glass of milk. She put her hand on my hand and she said, Honey, you don't owe anyone your silence, not even me. The yard got a little quieter. My mother was watching me from across the table. Her face was very still. Arlene, Gran, I am the woman I am because a woman before me refused to be small. I love you. I love you in every room, in every state, In every weather, for every remaining minute. Happy 80th. I raised my glass. 41 glasses raised with me. My mother's hand went up last. Half raised. She did not drink. Grandma smiled. Grandma's eyes were wet. Grandma knew. She had always known. She was just waiting. My mother stood up at 1:26 p.m. She did not have a glass in her hand. She had her cloth napkin, which she kept twisting and untwisting. Arlene, Mama, I love you. Happy birthday. 41 heads nodded. She looked down the table at me. I just want to say, as a mother, how hard it is when children forget. The yard changed temperature. Pastor Warren nodded sympathetically. Aunt Pat folded her arms across her chest like a woman bracing for wind. Some of us have sacrificed every ounce of who we were so our daughters could have the lives we didn't. And sometimes those daughters come back and they think boundaries are just another word for abandoning your family. She was not looking at Grandma anymore. She was looking at me. Helena, I raised you. We made you. And here, on my mother's 80th birthday, I have to watch you choose. She stopped. She couldn't finish the sentence. She didn't know how it ended. She had walked out onto a branch and noticed, too late, that she had no plan for where to land. Grandma set her lemonade glass down on the lace tablecloth. The sound it made was small. The silence after it was large. Grandma's face changed. 42 people felt it change. Aunt Pat glanced at Pastor Warren. Pastor Warren's mouth opened and closed. My father, at the end of the table, was staring at his own hands. Megan's husband Caleb put down his fork. My mother stood alone in a yard full of people, holding a twisted napkin, waiting for somebody, anybody, to jump in and carry her. Nobody moved. A person who plays the victim for a living assumes the room will always rescue her. This room was not going to rescue her. Not this time. Not in Grandma's yard. I stood up slowly. I did not hurry. Hurrying would have been a mistake. I walked around the end of the long table. My mother watched me the whole way, napkin still in her fist. I stopped behind my father's chair. He didn't look up. Then I walked to the hallway. I picked up the manila envelope from beside Grandma's purse. I walked back. I set it on the lace tablecloth in front of my mother. Mom, this is for you. You can open it now or later. Her hand did not move. Inside is a formal cease and desist letter from Holloway and Cross, where I work. There is also a copy of the FTC identity theft report I filed Wednesday, a copy of the Marysville police report I filed Thursday, Dr. James Wainwright's preliminary handwriting analysis, and the case numbers for the IRS and the Ohio Secretary of State. The yard was silent. I'm not here to ruin Grandma's party. I love every person at this table, but the 9 fraudulent credit accounts, the LLC opened in my name, and the $80,000 student loan my sister didn't know I'd supposedly co-signed, those stopped today. Aunt Pat spoke before Pastor Warren did. Her voice was thin. Helena, you work where? Holloway and Cross, Consumer Protection, Identity Theft Division. Her mouth opened. It closed. She looked at my mother. Pastor Warren leaned forward. Helena, surely this is a family matter. I turned to him gently. I had rehearsed this line. Pastor? With respect. Identity theft across state lines is a federal matter. It stopped being a family matter the first time she signed my name in 2008. He did not argue. He sat back in his chair. Megan was crying silently. My father was still looking at his hands. My mother had not yet touched the envelope. I looked at her. I kept my voice low. I'm not angry, Mom. I'm organized. There's a difference. Then I sat down. The cake had not yet been cut. My mother finally looked at the envelope. She did not pick it up. How dare you do this here? Mom, Barnes has had his copy since 4 o'clock yesterday. The court date is already scheduled. I mailed you this one as a courtesy, certified mail, so you would have your own copy. The filings are not contingent on you opening it. What court date? 8 weeks from Monday. Preliminary hearing. Civil suit and criminal referral to the district attorney. Criminal is out of my hands now. That is how it works. She sat down, slowly, like her legs had forgotten the instructions. My father put his face in his hands. Aunt Pat did not speak. Pastor Warren did not speak.
Megan reached under the table and took my hand. She squeezed it. She did not let go. Grandma Arlene stood up. For 1 second I thought she was going to say something to me. I braced. She walked the length of the table. She walked past my mother. She walked past my father. She came around behind my chair. She put her hand on my shoulder. She leaned down to my ear. Everyone at the table could hear her. "You did good, sweetheart." Then she straightened up. She looked at her daughter Linda. "Cut the cake, honey. People came to eat." My mother did not move. Aunt Pat stood up and cut the cake herself. She served Grandma first. She served me second. She served my mother last. She did not meet my mother's eyes. Some families come apart in screaming. Some families come apart in the sound of a cake knife on a porcelain plate. Ours was the second kind. We ate the cake. It was vanilla with raspberry filling. It was very good. We left at 2:44 p.m. Daniel drove. I leaned my head against the window and watched cornfields pass in the late March brown, rising slow out of winter. I did not turn on my phone for 40 minutes. When I finally turned it on, 19 messages were waiting. Cousin Rachel. I don't know what to say. I love you. Aunt Pat. Helena. I need to understand. Can we talk next week? Cousin Brendan. Holy cow. I had no idea. Call me whenever. One from Megan. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I love you. One from a number I didn't recognize. This is Mrs. Hildebrand. You were very brave today. If you need a witness, I have a memory like a steel trap. Pastor Warren, 1 line. I owe you a call. 3 from my mother, none from my father. I did not open my mother's 3. I called Margaret from the car. It's done, I said. Go home, Helena. Eat something. Take a shower. Tell me about it Monday. Margaret. Yes. Grandma put her hand on my shoulder. Margaret was quiet for a second. That's the whole case right there, honey. I know. I hung up. I looked at Daniel. How do you feel? He said. Like I just walked out of a burning building I've been living in for 18 years, and the building is still burning, but I'm not in it. He reached across the console and took my hand. The credit bureau was going to call on Tuesday at 10:32 a.m., and I did not know it yet. That call is the part I still need to tell you about. It's the part that made the paperwork real. Tuesday, 10:32 a.m. I was at my desk reviewing a discovery request for the Bridges file. My cell rang. A 770 area code, Atlanta. Helena Ensley? Speaking. Ms. Ensley, this is Andrea Koch, Senior Fraud Investigator at Experian. I've personally reviewed your file. Do you have 5 minutes? Yes, ma'am. I have 9 disputed accounts under your Social Security number, all originated between 2008 and 2024. I've cross-referenced your FTC affidavit, your police report, and the preliminary report from Dr. Wainwright, which I obtained a copy of this morning. Okay. All 9 accounts will be removed from your Experian file within 30 days. I've already flagged your file with Equifax and TransUnion. You should see corresponding removals from both within 45 days. Your projected score post-cleanup is estimated between 778 and 792, based on your existing positive credit history on your one legitimate account. Is this acceptable? I closed my eyes. Yes, Andrea, that's acceptable. Ms. Ensley, off the record. May I ask you something? Of course. I see these cases every day. Most of them come to me years after the victim first suspects, sometimes decades. You moved from discovery to full federal filing in 8 business days. What made you move that fast? I looked out the window. A pigeon was on the sill. The sun was low and bright. I work in consumer protection. I've watched this happen to other people too long. I was not going to let it happen to me for 1 more month. Andrea was quiet. Ms. Ensley, I'm going to fast-track this file. You will have a clean report before the end of next week. And I'm flagging your SSN with a designation we use internally. Corroborated fraud. Related party. Any future creditor will get an automatic warning before approving anything. Thank you, Andrea. Ma'am, get your house. I laughed for the first time in 3 weeks. Barnes emailed Margaret on Thursday. He proposed a settlement. $45,000 over 60 months. Helena withdraws all civil claims. Family relationship to be resumed, in his words, on a mutual path of forgiveness. Margaret read it aloud at our Friday stand-up meeting. She laughed the dry way she laughs when opposing counsel underestimates a client. Barnes is lowballing. Documented principal is 147, punitive is on the table, and the criminal referral is out of your hands either way. Once the DA opens the file, you don't own the decision anymore. I know. So how do you want me to respond? I did not think about it long. I'd thought about it in the car, in the shower, at Daniel's kitchen table, in my sleep. Principal only. 147,000 over 36 months, secured by a lien on the Marysville house, interest at the current federal rate, acknowledgement of responsibility in writing, no admission of affection. I'm not selling that. Margaret wrote it down. And the criminal referral? Stays. I can't pull it. Tax fraud is federal. I wouldn't pull it if I could. That's not mine to forgive. Not yours to forgive. No. Margaret looked at me over her reading glasses. Honey, you're going to be okay. I know. I walked back to my office. I had a Kowalski file to close. I had a new affidavit to review for the Okonkwo settlement. I had my life to get back to. My real one. The one with an apple pie and an open kitchen and a dog we had not yet adopted. I handed my parents to the system. That is what the system is for. Megan invited me to her house the following Saturday, just the two of us. Coffee at her kitchen table. I had not been inside her house in 18 months. My mother had told me Megan wanted space. Megan had told me I was being private. We sat. The coffee was good. Caleb was at the gym on purpose to give us the kitchen. Megan opened first. My whole life Mom told me you were jealous of me. That's why I thought you didn't come to my baby shower in 2024. Meg, I didn't come because Mom told me you didn't want me there. We both stopped for a second. Then we both started laughing. The cracked kind of laughing you do when the ground under your whole childhood turns out to be a rug. She played us. Yes. She used us against each other, H. Yes. For 30 years. Yes. Megan wiped her eyes with a paper towel. Can I start over with you? As a sister, from today. Yes, but slow. And we tell each other the truth about money from now on. All of it. All of it, I promise. We hugged. She smelled like the same shampoo she used in high school. Pantene. The green bottle. Before I left, she handed me a folder. What is this? Statements, letters from Mom, things she sent me when I was 19, things I didn't understand until last week. There's a fake cosign email in there too. She impersonated you in Gmail once. I saved every weird thing she ever sent me, H. I didn't know why I was saving them. I held the folder to my chest on the drive home. Save what can be saved. Bury what must be buried, in that order. 3 weeks after Grandma's birthday, my father's next-door neighbor, Larry Dubinsky, bumped into Daniel at the hardware store. Larry didn't mean to tell on my mother. Larry just wasn't good at small talk. Your mother-in-law keeps moving that envelope around the kitchen counter, he said. Doesn't open it, just moves it. My wife saw it on the windowsill Monday. Daniel told me that night. I said, let her. Barnes has his copy. The court has its copy. Whether she opens hers is her problem. But that weekend, I mailed a second envelope. This one was small, white, standard number 10, addressed to her at my parents' house. Inside, one photograph. Me and Daniel standing on the front porch of the Elm Street house, keys in my hand, the morning we closed, sun on the white pillars, Prudence, the rescue we finally adopted, sitting between us with her tongue out. On the back of the photograph, in my handwriting, you were right. You made me. I used everything you taught me to stop you. Please do not come to the wedding. H. That was all. I dropped it in the blue mailbox outside the Marysville post office on a Tuesday at 4:12 p.m. Larry, loyal reporter that he was, told Daniel 6 weeks later that my mother never opened that one either. She kept it on her dresser, in a little dish with safety pins and a St. Christopher medal. Larry said she looked at it every night before she turned off the lamp. She did not open it. Neither envelope is open to this day. The first one was evidence. The second one was peace. That was her choice to make. Not mine. I'd mailed it. My part was done. We closed on Elm Street 6 weeks after Grandma's party. Credit score at signing, 784. Victor Delaney from Huntington Bank called me personally. Ms. Ensley, I don't know exactly what you did. I do know I've never seen a file change that fast. Congratulations. We moved in on a Saturday. Daniel, me, Daniel's dad, Megan, Caleb, and Margaret. Margaret, who carried dishes in from her Volvo like she'd done it in every house I'd ever lived in. I planted tomato starts along the back fence in April. Prudence dug them up in June. I replanted them. She dug them up again. We worked it out. Grandma Arlene came for Sunday lunch every week. She sat in the window seat and read the Columbus Dispatch and ate Megan's apple pie, which Megan had finally been taught to make. Grandma said Megan's crust was better than mine. I took it well. My father texted me once in May. 8 words. I'm sorry. I'm in AA. Please give me time. I didn't say yes, I didn't say no, I archived it. That is what archiving is for. It isn't forgiveness. It isn't refusal. It is a place to put a sentence while you decide what it is. My mother sent nothing. The preliminary hearing was 4 weeks out. Barnes had accepted the principal plus lien. The criminal referral was on the DA's calendar for the fall. None of this was mine to manage anymore. Some nights I walked barefoot through our backyard in the grass. Prudence at my heel. Peach tree just starting to bud. Boundaries are not walls. They are property lines. You can wave from your side. You just can't be fined by theirs anymore. I had my name back. I had my house. I had my sister. I was okay. One Wednesday morning in July, I was driving to Holloway and Cross at 7:42 a.m. I turned on the podcast queue, the Oprah podcast. The episode was titled, Going No Contact. A woman called in. Her voice sounded like mine sounded at 31, on a bad day. I went no contact with my parents after I found out they'd been using my social security number since I was 16 years old. I'm still unwinding it. I didn't know there were others. I thought it was just me. I pulled over into a gas station parking lot. I listened. Oprah asked, "How are you today?" I'm still standing. That's enough for today. Yes, ma'am. That's enough for today. Then Oprah said something that stayed with me for a long time. Setting a boundary isn't the end of love. It's the beginning of honesty. I sat in that parking lot for a long time. I watched a woman in a waitress uniform pump gas, holding coffee with a gloved hand. A generation of women had been taught silence was love. We had been taught staying was the proof of loyalty. We had been taught the word no was the word of an ungrateful daughter. We were learning a different sentence now. We were learning that truth is also love, even when it arrives certified mail. I turned off the podcast. I pulled back onto the road. At Holloway and Cross, I had 3 new consultations on my calendar that morning. 3 women, 3 different stories. One about a grandmother's trust, one about a dead uncle's credit card, one about a mother. I poured my coffee. I got to work. Daniel and I got married on a Saturday in September, in the backyard of the Elm Street house. 22 guests, Margaret in a navy pantsuit, Megan and Caleb, Daniel's parents, my best friend Audrey from Ohio State, 2 paralegals from the firm, Grandma Arlene in a lilac dress she'd sewn herself in 1987 and never worn. My parents were not there. My father was 90 days into AA. That was enough for me to be grateful about. Not enough for me to invite. My mother was not invited. She would not have come if she had been. Grandma walked me across the grass. My father's role, traditionally. She took it without comment. No one at our wedding needed a speech about why. The people who understood, understood. When we reached Daniel, she leaned up and whispered in my ear. "Your mother called me last night." "What did you tell her?" "I told her the same thing I told her when she was 8 years old and lied to me about the cookies. Say you're sorry or don't come back." She hung up. She kissed my cheek. We were married under an arch Megan had built herself out of dogwood branches. Prudence slept under the table through the toasts. That night, after the last guest left, I sat on the back steps with my grandmother. We shared a slice of wedding cake off the same plate. "Any regrets, honey?" "Just one, Gran." "Tell me." "I regret that I waited 18 years. That's a short list." "It's the only one on it." She squeezed my hand. The stars were coming out over the Elm Street backyard. My house, my name, my peace. All 3, finally, mine. If you made it all the way here with me, thank you. If you know an envelope that's waiting to be mailed, you don't need to be brave to mail it. You need the right process,
and one person holding your hand. If this story said something you've been needing to hear, type one word in the comments. Start. I read them. And if you want to hear about the second call I got from the credit bureau 3 months later, a call I haven't told you about yet, the next video is in the description. I'll see you there.